The ship moved slowly through the darkness of space. It was beautiful and silver, built by human hands over many years. Inside, 200 people stood in silence. They had traveled for 3 months to reach this place. They had come with hope in their hearts. Admiral Taiho Park stood at the front window. He was 60 years old, with gray hair and calm eyes. He had fought in 2 wars and led thousands of soldiers. But today, he was not here to fight. He was here to make friends. Beside him stood Ambassador Yuna Kim. She was younger, maybe 40. Her black hair was tied back neatly. She held a folder in her hands. Inside were documents that showed everything good about humanity. Their art, their music, their medicine, their dreams. There it is, Taiho said quietly. The station appeared before them. It was massive, larger than any city on Earth. Lights covered its surface like stars. Ships from 100 different species moved around it. This was Varus Prime, home of the Galactic Council. The rulers of known space. Yuna took a deep breath. 50 years, she said. 50 years of work to reach this moment. Taiho nodded. Humanity had discovered faster than light travel 50 years ago. Since then, they had explored built colonies and searched for other life. They found it. The galaxy was full of intelligent species, and all of them answered to the Council. The human ship docked at the station. Yuna led her team through long hallways made of strange metal. Aliens of all shapes watched them pass. Some had scales. Some had many eyes. Some floated in the air. All of them looked at the humans with curiosity, or perhaps something else. The council chamber was enormous. 12 seats rose in a half circle, each one holding a representative of an elder species. These were the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. They had ruled for 10,000 years. At the center sat Counselor Dravik of the Valori. He was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and eyes that held no warmth. He was over 900 years old. Yuna stepped forward. Her voice was steady and clear. Honorable Council, she began. I am Ambassador Yuna Kim, representative of Earth and the human species. We come before you today to request membership in the Galactic Council. She opened her folder. Holographic images appeared in the air. Cities, hospitals, schools, gardens, children laughing. We offer our friendship, Yuna continued. We offer our knowledge, our creativity, our passion. We have cured diseases that killed millions. We have created art that moves the soul. We have built ships that cross the stars. We ask only for the chance to join your community, to learn from you, to share what we have. She finished speaking. The chamber was silent. Dravik leaned forward. His eyes moved slowly over the human delegation. Then he spoke. His voice was cold and flat. We have reviewed your species, he said. We have studied your history, your biology, your behavior. He paused. Something like a smile crossed his thin lips. Your application is denied. Yuna did not move. May I ask why? Dravik gestured and new images appeared. But these were not beautiful. They showed war. Bombs falling. Cities burning. Soldiers dying in mud and blood. You are a violent species, Dravik said. In your short history, you have fought thousands of wars. You have killed billions of your own kind. You are driven by emotion, by anger, by fear. You live barely 100 years, yet you spend most of that time destroying each other. Another counselor spoke. She was covered in green scales. Your species cannot even agree among yourselves. You have hundreds of nations, hundreds of languages, hundreds of religions. You are chaos. A third counselor, a being made of living crystal, added, You are children, dangerous children. The galaxy does not need more chaos. Dravik raised his hand for silence. The council has decided humanity is too aggressive, too emotional, too unstable. You are what we call chaos bringers. We cannot allow you to spread your disorder among the stars. Yuna's hands tightened on her folder. We have changed. We are learning. We came here in peace. Perhaps, Dravik said, but change takes time. Real change. Return, In 1,000 years. Perhaps then your species will have matured enough to deserve consideration. 1,000 years. The words hung in the air like poison. Admiral Taiho had remained silent throughout. He had watched. He had listened. Now he stepped forward. The counselors looked at him with mild interest. "I have a question," Taiho said. His voice was quiet but firm. Dravik tilted his head. "Speak." "In your 10,000 years of rule," Taiho said, "how many species have you rejected?" Dravik's eyes narrowed slightly. "Many. What is your point? Where are they now?" Silence filled the chamber. The counselors looked at each other. None of them answered. Taiho nodded slowly. "I see." He turned to look at each counselor in turn. "We came here with open hands. We came offering friendship, partnership, cooperation. We asked for nothing except a chance to prove ourselves." He straightened his shoulders. "You have rejected us. You have called us children, chaos bringers, unstable primates. You have mocked our history and dismissed our achievements." His eyes met Dravik's. There was no anger in them. Only something deeper. Something patient. "Remember this moment," Taiho said. "Remember that we came in peace. Remember that you turned us away." He turned and walked toward the exit. Yuna followed, her head held high. The rest of the human delegation moved with them. No one spoke at the door. Taiho paused. He looked back one final time. "We will not forget," he said. "And neither will you." The humans left. The great doors closed behind them. In the chamber, the counselors relaxed. Dravik leaned back in his seat. The crystal counselor made a sound like laughter. "Emotional creatures," he said. "So dramatic." "They will be forgotten in a century," the scaled counselor added. "Like all the others." Dravik nodded in agreement. "The galaxy is better without them. Order must be maintained. Chaos must be contained." The council moved on to other business. The humans were already fading from their minds. They did not know that they had just made the greatest mistake in galactic history. Far away. The human fleet turned toward home. Admiral Taiho stood at the window again, watching the station grow smaller and smaller. Yuna came to stand beside him. Her eyes were wet, but her voice was steady. "What do we do now?" she asked. Taiho was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke. "We go home. We grow stronger. We prove them wrong." Paused. "And we wait." "Wait for what?" Taiho's reflection looked back at him from the window. Behind it, the stars stretched on forever. "For them to need us," he said. "And they will. Sooner or later, they will." The ship jumped to light speed and vanished into the void. The council did not notice. They were too busy congratulating themselves on keeping the galaxy pure. They had no idea what they had just unleashed. 150 years passed. The galaxy had mostly forgotten about humanity. The council continued its slow, careful rule. Elder species traded with each other, made treaties, held ceremonies. Everything moved as it always had, peaceful, orderly, unchanging. But in the far regions of space, away from council eyes, something remarkable had happened. President Minho Kong stood on a balcony overlooking the city of New Dawn. It was humanity's 12th colony world, and the city below him held 3 million people. Towers of glass and steel reached toward the sky. Gardens covered the rooftops. Children played in parks while their parents worked in laboratories and factories. Minho was 70 years old, but he looked 50. Medical science had advanced far in the past century. Humans now lived 300 years on average. They had time. Time to learn. Time to grow. Time to build. "Beautiful, is it not?" said a voice behind him. He turned. Dr. Hannah Choi walked toward him, her white coat flowing behind her. She was the chief scientist of the Prometheus Research Initiative, the program that had given humanity its greatest achievements. "Every time I see a new colony," Minho said, "I remember why we do this." Hannah smiled. She was 140 years old, one of the first generation to receive the life extension treatments. She had been a young researcher when humanity was rejected by the council. She remembered the anger, the shame, the determination. I have the latest reports, she said, handing him a data tablet. Our new drive systems are now 4 times faster than anything the Council has. Our medical nanobots can repair almost any injury, and the microstar power plants are running at full capacity in all 12 colonies. Minho looked at the data. Each number represented years of hard work. After the Council rejected them, humanity had no choice but to develop everything on their own. No shared technology. No trade agreements. No help from anyone. It had been difficult. The first 50 years were brutal. Resources were scarce. People died. Some said humanity should try again, begged the Council for membership. But the leaders refused. They remembered Admiral Taiho's words. They remembered the insults. And they got to work. What about the military? Minho asked. General Sun Wu Beek entered the room. He was a large man with a scarred face and kind eyes. He had served in the Terran Defense Forces for 60 years. Stronger than ever, Sun Wu said. We have 2,000 warships now. Each one could destroy 10 Council vessels. We are not building them to destroy, Minho reminded him. No, Sun Wu agreed. We build them to protect. And they had protected. While the Council ignored the smaller species of the galaxy, humanity had reached out to them. The Bryn were insect-like beings who had been enslaved for centuries. Human soldiers freed them. The Nolari were aquatic creatures whose ocean world was dying from pollution. Human scientists helped clean their waters. The Corvani were refugees whose planet had been destroyed by a natural disaster. Humanity gave them a new home. These species, once forgotten and dismissed by the Council as lesser races, now stood with humanity. They formed the Allied Peoples, a growing community of equals. No one was rejected. Everyone had value. Speaking of our allies, Sun Wu said, his expression growing serious. I have disturbing news. Activated a holographic display. A map of the galaxy appeared, with Council space shown in blue. At the very edge of the map, far beyond known space, there was a red area. It was spreading. Our long-range sensors detected this 3 weeks ago, Sun Wu explained. A massive fleet. Thousands of ships. Maybe millions. They are moving toward the galaxy. Minho studied the image. Do we know who they are? No, but we intercepted some Council communications. They are calling them the Devouring. The Devouring. Sun Wu nodded grimly. The Council has known about them for months. They have kept it secret. But the reports are terrifying. These creatures do not conquer. They consume. They eat entire worlds. Every plant, every animal, every person. Nothing is left. Hannah stepped closer to the display. Her scientific mind was already working. A hive species. They must have a central intelligence. A queen, perhaps. They do, Sun Wu said. We have not found it. What we do know is that the Council is afraid. More afraid than they have ever been. Minho was quiet for a long moment. He thought about the Council. The arrogant counselors who had laughed at humanity, who had called them chaos bringers and unstable primates. For 150 years, humanity had grown strong while the Council remained the same. They had not changed. They had not adapted. They believed their ancient methods would work forever. Now, something was coming. Something that did not care about treaties or traditions or 10,000 years of rule. How long until they reach Council space? Minho asked. At their current speed, about 2 years. 2 years. A long time for humans. Barely a moment for species that lived thousands of years. The Council will contact us, Hannah said softly. You know they will. Yes, when they are desperate enough. And what will we do? It was the question that had haunted humanity for generations. What would they do when the moment came? When the species that rejected them came begging for help, some wanted revenge. Some wanted to watch the Council burn. Some wanted to simply turn away, as the Council had turned away from them. But that was not who humanity was. That was not who they had become. Minho walked back to the balcony. Below him, The city continued its peaceful life. Children still played. People still loved. Scientists still dreamed of new discoveries. "We will help them," he said finally. Sunwoo frowned. "Even after everything they did to us?" "Yes." Minho turned to face them. "Not because they deserve it, but because it is right, because we are better than they thought we were. Because if we turn our backs on billions of innocent beings, we become exactly what they accused us of." Anna smiled. It was the answer she had hoped for. "But we will not help them for free," Minho added. His eyes grew hard. "They will pay a price, not in money or resources. They will pay with change. The old council must end. A new order must begin. One where no species is rejected, where everyone has a voice." "They will never agree to that," Sunwoo said. "They will," Minho replied. "When the alternative is extinction." The holographic map still glowed behind them. The red area was small now, but it was growing every day. The devouring was coming. The council's ancient rule was about to be tested, and humanity was ready, far away. In the council chambers of Varus Prime, Counselor Dravik received the latest intelligence reports. The devouring had destroyed 2 outer colonies. 3 billion lives lost. The council fleet sent to stop them had been completely destroyed. Dravik was old now, older than ever. His hands shook as he read the reports. For the first time in centuries, he felt something he had almost forgotten. Fear. He looked at the map on his screen. Council space in blue, the devouring in red, and there, in the far corner, a region marked in green. The Terran sovereignty. The humans and their allies, they had grown so strong. How had he not noticed? How had he been so blind? Dravik remembered the day he rejected them. He remembered the human admiral's words. "Remember that we came in peace. Remember that you turned us away." Remembered, and now, for the first time in 150 years, he wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. The planet was called Valoria 7. It was home to 800 million people. Beautiful cities covered its surface. Libraries held knowledge from 1,000 generations. Children went to schools that had existed for centuries. In 3 hours, all of it was gone. Fleet Admiral Ji Woo Song watched from her observation ship as the devouring consumed the planet. Her vessel was hidden behind a distant moon, sensors recording everything. She had been ordered to observe only, not to engage, not to help. It was the hardest order she had ever followed. The devouring came in waves. First, millions of small creatures the size of dogs. They fell from the sky like rain and ate everything organic. Grass, trees, animals, people. Behind them came larger creatures. Tall as buildings with mouths that never stopped opening and closing. They swallowed whole structures. Finally came the ships, massive living vessels that drank the oceans and stripped the soil. Within hours, Valoria 7 was a dead rock, gray and empty. Nothing remained. 800 million, whispered Lieutenant Dassam, Jiwoo's second-in-command. Her face was pale. They killed 800 million people in 3 hours. Jiwoo said nothing. There were no words for what they had witnessed. She was 40 years old, a career officer in the Terran Defense Forces. She had seen death before. She had fought pirates and rescued refugees. But this was different. This was not war. This was consumption. The devouring did not hate their victims. They did not even acknowledge them. They simply fed. "Send the recording to command," Jiwoo ordered. Her voice was steady, though her hands were not. "Earth needs to see this." Thousands of light years away, Commander Yeri Moon was doing her own work. She was an intelligence operative stationed on a neutral trading post that both Council species and humans used. For the past year, she had been monitoring Council communications. Today, those communications were filled with panic. "The Third Fleet is destroyed. Repeat, the Third Fleet is completely destroyed. No survivors. We need reinforcements at Corvin. The swarm is already in orbit. They are landing ground forces. We cannot hold. Counselor Dravik has called an emergency session. All available representatives must attend." Yari listened carefully. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and quick hands. No one on the station knew she was Terran intelligence. They thought she was a merchant dealing in rare metals. It was a useful disguise. She transmitted her reports to Earth using encrypted channels. The news was bad. Worse than bad. In 6 months, the devouring had taken 40% of Council space. 12 species had lost their homeworlds. Billions were dead or fleeing, and the Council had no answer. In the Great Chamber on Varus Prime, Counselor Dravik faced the remaining members of the Council. Of the original 12, only 8 remained. 4 counselors had died when their homeworlds fell. Their ancient seats now stood empty. "We must change our strategy," said the Crystal Counselor, whose name was Torvax. "Our current methods are failing. What would you suggest?" demanded the Scaled Counselor Serix. "We have sent our finest fleets. They are destroyed within days. The devouring adapts to every tactic we use. Then we must adapt as well," Torvax replied. "We are the Council," Serix said coldly. "We do not adapt. We plan, we prepare, we execute with precision, and we are dying because of it," another counselor said quietly. All eyes turned to Dravik. He had been silent throughout the debate. His ancient face showed nothing, but inside he was crumbling. Everything he had believed was falling apart. The Council's methods, unchanged for 10,000 years, were useless against an enemy that evolved between battles. "There is one option we have not considered," Dravik said slowly. Each word seemed to cause him pain. The other counselors waited, the humans. Silence fell over the chamber, heavy, uncomfortable. Serix was the first to speak. "The humans. Those primitive chaos bringers you rejected 150 years ago?" "Yes, they are nothing," Serix said. "A minor species in a forgotten corner of the galaxy." Dravik pressed a button. Holographic images appeared. Human warships. Human colonies. Human soldiers training in ways that looked strange and unpredictable. And human allies. The Bryn, the Nolari, the Corvani. Species the Council had dismissed as worthless. "They are not nothing," Dravik said. "Not anymore. Our intelligence reports show they have become the second most powerful force in the galaxy. Their technology now surpasses ours in several areas. Their military is disciplined and experienced, and they have something we do not." "What?" Torvax asked. "Adaptability." Dravik's voice was heavy. "They change. They improvise. They do things that make no logical sense and somehow succeed. They are everything we despised about them, and it may be exactly what we need." Serix stood up angrily. "You cannot be serious. After we rejected them. After we called them unstable primates, they will never help us. And even if they would, the shame of asking would destroy the Council's reputation." "What reputation?" Dravik asked quietly. "We have lost 40% of our territory. 8 counselors are dead. Billions of our citizens have been consumed. Our reputation is already in ruins." The chamber fell silent again. Dravik stood slowly. His old bones ached. His hearts were heavy, but he had made his decision. "I will contact the humans myself. I will ask for their help. It may be too late. They may refuse. But I see no other path. If they demand something in return," Torvax asked, "and we will pay it. Whatever it is." Dravik looked at the empty seats of his dead colleagues. "We have no choice." He walked to the communication console. His fingers hesitated over the controls. 150 years ago, he had dismissed humanity with contempt. He had told them to return in 1,000 years. He had been so certain of his wisdom. Now he was about to beg them for mercy. He began recording his message to the leaders of the Terran sovereignty. "This is Counselor Dravik of the Galactic Council. I speak to you today not as a superior, but as a desperate leader watching his people die. We face an enemy we cannot defeat. The devouring has taken nearly half our space. Billions are dead. Billions more will follow. We have no answer." He paused. The next words were the hardest he had ever spoken. "I ask for your help. The Council asks for your help. I know we have no right to ask. I know what we did to you. I know what we said. But I am asking anyway. Not for the Council. For the billions of innocent lives that will be lost if you refuse. He stopped recording. The message was sent across the stars, toward Earth, toward the humans. Toward the species he had once thought would disappear from history. Now they were his only hope. On the human observation ship. Admiral Ju Song received an urgent communication from command. She read it 3 times to make sure she understood. The council had asked for help. After everything they had finally asked, she thought about what she had witnessed on Valoria 7. The death. The destruction. The absolute horror of a species that consumed everything in its path. The council deserved to suffer, perhaps. They had been arrogant and cruel. They had rejected humanity and countless other species. But the innocent people being consumed by the devouring did not deserve this. The children did not deserve this. The families hiding in cellars, waiting to die, did not deserve this. Whatever humanity decided, Jiwoo hoped they would remember that. It was not about the council anymore. It was about something bigger. It was about what kind of species humanity wanted to be. Station Helix 7 floated in neutral space, far from both council territory and human colonies. It was a place built by humans, but open to all species. Traders, refugees, and diplomats passed through its halls every day. Today, it would host the most important meeting in galactic history. Chancellor Doyen Lee arrived first. He was a tall man in his early 80s with white hair and calm eyes. He had led the Terran sovereignty for 12 years. Before that, he had been a teacher, still thought like one, always looking for lessons in every situation. With him came Ambassador Sora Yoon. She was 45 years old, sharp-minded and elegant. Her grandmother had been Yoona Kim, the original ambassador who was rejected by the council 150 years ago. Sora had grown up hearing stories about that day. She had seen the pain in her grandmother's eyes, even decades later. Today, she carried the original rejection documents in her bag, a reminder of what the council had done. Admiral Junho Shin completed the human delegation. He was the commander of the Terran First Fleet, a veteran of 30 years of service. His face was hard, his eyes watchful. He did not trust the council. He was here to make sure they kept their promises. They waited in a large meeting room with windows overlooking the stars. The furniture was simple but comfortable, human-made. "They are arriving," an aide announced. Through the windows, they saw a council shuttle approaching. It was smaller than they expected, less impressive. There was no grand fleet escorting it. No display of power, because the council had no power left to display. Councillor Dravik entered the room slowly. He was old, so much older than before. His blue skin had faded to gray. His tall frame was bent. Behind him came only two aides, no guards, no other councillors. He was alone. Doyan stood to greet him. A gesture of respect. Dravik seemed surprised by it. Councillor Doyan said, "Please, sit." Dravik lowered himself into a chair. His eyes moved over the humans. He remembered their ancestors, young and hopeful and rejected. Now their descendants looked at him with the power of an entire civilization behind them. How things had changed. "I will not waste time with diplomacy," Dravik said. His voice was rough. "We both know why I am here. The devouring has taken nearly half our space. 60% of our combined fleets are destroyed. We are losing." "We know," Sora said. Her voice was neutral. "We have been watching." "Then you know we need help." "Your help." Dravik met her eyes. "I am here to ask for it." Sora reached into her bag and pulled out a folder. Old paper, yellowed with age. She placed it on the table between them. "Do you know what this is?" she asked. Dravik looked at it. Something flickered in his ancient eyes. "Recognition, perhaps shame. The rejection documents," he said quietly. "From the original meeting, my grandmother kept them until she died," Sora said. "She wanted future generations to remember, to never forget how the council treated humanity." Dravik was silent. "You called us chaos bringers." Sora continued. "Unstable primates. You told us to return in 1,000 years. You laughed at our short lives and our emotional nature. You dismissed everything we had achieved." "I remember," Dravik said. "Good." Sora leaned forward. "Because now you come to us, hat in hand, begging for the help you once thought we were too primitive to offer. I want you to understand the weight of this moment. The irony of it. Admiral Junho spoke for the first time. We should let them burn. His voice was cold. They deserve it. Doyan raised a hand. No one deserves what the devouring does. Not even our enemies. He turned to Dravik. The Chancellor is right. We will help you. But there are conditions. Dravik had expected this. Name them. Whatever you want. Full membership in the Council. Access to all our technology. Trade agreements. We will give you everything we once denied. We do not want membership in your council, Doyan said. Dravik blinked. You do not.
Oh.
We want the council dissolved. Silence filled the room. Dravik stared at the human chancellor as if he had spoken an alien language. Dissolved? He repeated. The council has existed for 10,000 years. It has maintained order across the galaxy. It has prevented wars. It has rejected every species it considered inferior, Sora interrupted. It has ignored suffering when it was convenient. It has maintained order only for those it deemed worthy. Everyone else was forgotten. She gestured at the window. Somewhere out there were the Bryn, the Nalari, the Corvani, and dozens of other species that humanity had helped. Found them, Sora said. The species you threw away. They were dying. Enslaved, abandoned. We gave them homes, we gave them hope, and now they stand with us as equals. Doyan nodded. That is what we want for the entire galaxy. Not a council of elders deciding who matters and who does not. An assembly. A true community where every species has a voice. Where no one is rejected because they are young or emotional or different. Dravik shook his head slowly. You ask too much. The elder species will never accept this. They have ruled for millennia. They will not surrender their power. Then they will die, Admiral Junho said simply. He activated a holographic display. Thousands of human warships appeared. They were sleek, powerful, and numerous. More ships than the entire council had remaining. This is the Terran First Fleet, Junho said, and there are 4 more like it. Each ship is 3 times as fast and twice as powerful as anything you have. We can end this war. But we will not fight to preserve an order that rejected us. Dravik looked at the fleet. He thought about his homeworld, about the billions still under council protection. He thought about the devouring, consuming everything in its path. He thought about pride. 10,000 years of pride, and what it had cost them. If I agree, he said slowly, the other counselors will oppose me. There may be resistance. Let them resist, Doyan said. Those who want to survive will accept the new order. Those who prefer pride to survival will face the devouring alone. You would let innocents die to make your point? Sora answered. We will save everyone we can. But we will not prop up a system that was rotten from the start. The council as you knew it is over, counselor. The only question is whether something better rises from its ashes. Dravik sat in silence for a long time. The weight of 10,000 years pressed down on him. Everything he had believed, everything he had defended was crumbling. But there was something else, something he had not felt in centuries. Relief? Perhaps the council had been wrong. Perhaps they had held on too long to old ideas. Perhaps it was time for change. If I sign this agreement, Dravik said, I will be betraying everything I once stood for. No, Doyan said gently. You will be saving your people. There is no betrayal in that. Dravik looked at the human chancellor. So young by council standards, so short-lived. Yet there was wisdom in his eyes, compassion, understanding. Maybe the humans had something to teach them after all. Very well, Dravik said. I will sign. He took the document that Sora offered and pressed his mark to it. His hand trembled as he did so. 10,000 years of history, ending with a signature, but also beginning. Something new, something different. Doyan stood and offered his hand. A human gesture of respect. Dravik hesitated, then took it. Welcome to the new galaxy, Doyan said. Let us go save it together. Outside the windows, the stars continued their eternal dance. The devouring was still out there, consuming everything it touched. The war was far from over, but for the first time, there was real hope. Humanity had returned. And everything was about to change. The Battle of Korrivan's Gate would be remembered for 1,000 years. It was the last defensive line before the Galactic Core, where the oldest and most populated worlds existed. If the devouring broke through here, nothing could stop them. Trillions would die. Civilizations that had existed for millennia would vanish forever. Admiral Junhoshin stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Defiance. Around him, hundreds of crew members worked at their stations. Human, Bryn, Nolari, and Corvani served side by side. This was not a human fleet. It was an allied fleet. A family. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said Captain Nari Wong. She was his second in command, a woman of 40 with steady hands and fierce eyes. She had been born on a colony ship and had never known Earth, but she would die to protect it. JUNHO looked at the tactical display. The combined fleet stretched across thousands of kilometers. Human vessels formed the core, their silver hulls gleaming. Council ships filled the flanks, their designs ancient and elegant. Bryn carriers launched fighter swarms. Nolari submarines of space moved through the darkness. Corvani gunships held the rear. It was the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history, and facing them was the sea devouring. The enemy came like a living storm. Billions of creatures, from dog-sized swarmers to ships the size of moons. They moved as one, guided by a single mind. At the center of their formation was the Queen ship, a massive living vessel that pulsed with dark energy. As long as the Queen lived, the devouring could not be stopped. "All ships," Junho said, his voice broadcast across every channel. "This is Admiral Shin. Today we fight for everyone. Every species, every world, every child who deserves to grow up in peace." He paused. "The enemy does not understand us. They see chaos where we see creativity. They see weakness where we see heart. They have consumed hundreds of worlds because those worlds fought them with logic and order. They have never faced humans." Across the fleet, soldiers and crew members listened. "Today, we show them what chaos can do. Today, we show them that short lives can burn brighter than ancient stars. Today, we do the impossible." He straightened. "For humanity, for our allies, for the galaxy. Attack." The fleet surged forward. What followed was not a battle. It was controlled madness. Human tactics made no sense to observers. Ships flew in random patterns. Squads broke formation to chase individual targets. Pilots made decisions on instinct, changing strategies in seconds. The devouring tried to adapt. Their hive mind analyzed patterns and countered them. But there were no patterns. Every human captain fought differently. Every pilot had their own style. The chaos was real, and the devouring could not predict it. Captain Nari Wong led the Defiance straight into the thickest fighting. Swarmers crashed against the shields like rain against a window. Larger creatures tried to latch onto the hull. The ship's weapons never stopped firing. "Damage report," Nari called. "Shields at 60%. Hull breaches on decks 4 and 7. Sealing now. Keep pushing forward. We need to reach the Queen ship." On the medical deck, Dr. Hannah Choi worked with desperate speed. She was 290 years old now, her body kept alive by the very technology she had helped create. This would be her last contribution to humanity. In her hands was a device no larger than a briefcase. The bioresonance weapon. It had taken 50 years to develop. It would disrupt the devouring's hive-mind connection, cutting the link between the Queen and her swarm, but it had to be detonated inside the Queen ship itself. "Doctor," a young medic said, "the weapon is ready." Hannah nodded. "Tell Captain Wong, we are prepared." On the bridge, Nari received the message. She looked at the Queen ship on the display. It was still far away, protected by billions of creatures. Getting there would be almost impossible. Almost. "All hands," Nari announced. "Prepare for ramming speed. We are taking this ship into the heart of the enemy." Silence on the bridge. Everyone knew what that meant. Then one by one, the crew members nodded. No one left their station. No one hesitated. "For humanity," Nari said. "For humanity," the crew repeated. The Defiance accelerated. Its engines burned hotter than ever designed. The The ship tore through the swarm like a knife through flesh. Creatures smashed against the hull. Explosions rocked every deck. The shields failed. The armor began to buckle, but they did not stop. Admiral Junho watched from his command ship. His heart ached as he saw the Defiance pushing deeper and deeper into the swarm. He wanted to order them back. He wanted to save them, but he understood. Sometimes victory required sacrifice. Sometimes heroes had to fall so others could rise. "Godspeed," he whispered. The Defiance reached the Queen's ship. Its hull was torn, its weapons gone, but its engines still burned. Captain Nari Huang looked at the massive creature before them, alive, thinking. The source of all the death and destruction. Dr. Choi, Nari said over the com. "It's time." In the medical bay, Hannah activated the weapon. Light filled the room. She thought about her life, her research, her friends who had died long ago. She thought about the young humans who would live because of what she did today. It was enough. It was more than enough. "Goodbye," she said softly. The bioresonance weapon detonated. A pulse of energy expanded outward from the Defiance. It passed through the Queen's ship, through the swarm, through every creature connected to the hive mind. For a moment, everything stopped. Then the connection broke. Across the battlefield, the devouring went mad. Without the Queen's guidance, they turned on each other. Swarmers attacked larger creatures. Ships crashed into one another. Billions of years of instinct replaced by chaos. Real chaos. Human chaos. The Allied fleet pushed forward. Now the battle was simple. The enemy was destroying itself. Human and Council ships hunted down the scattered remnants. Within hours, the devouring was broken. The galaxy was saved. 1 year later, Galactic Assembly held its first session. The Great Hall was different from the old council chamber. There were no raised seats, no hierarchy of power. Every species sat as equals. Hundreds of representatives filled the room. Old species and young, large and small. All of them with a voice. Former Counselor Dravik sat in a simple chair among the others. He was just another delegate now. Just one voice among many. And somehow, he felt more at peace than he had in centuries. At the front of the hall, Ambassador Sora Yoon walked to the speaker's platform. She had been elected first speaker of the Galactic Assembly. The first human to hold such a position, the first of many, perhaps. She looked out at the assembly. Faces of every color and shape looked back at her, waiting, hoping. She thought about her grandmother, Yuna Kim, about the rejection that had shaped humanity's path, about the long years of isolation and growth, about the war that had brought them all together. 150 years ago, Sora began, humanity came to the galaxy with open hands. We offered friendship. We offered partnership. We were rejected. She paused. Today I stand before you not to dwell on the past, but to build the future. The old ways are gone. The council that divided species into worthy and unworthy is gone. In its place, we have something new, something better. She looked at Dravik. He nodded slowly. We are the Galactic Assembly, Sora continued. Every species has a voice here. Every life has value. We will disagree. We will argue. We will make mistakes. But we will do it together. As equals. As partners. As a family, she raised her hand. My grandmother spoke these words when she first came before the council. We came offering friendship. The council refused that offer. But today, I say those words again. We came offering friendship. And this time, you accepted. The hall erupted in applause. Human and alien alike cheered. Old enemies stood together. New alliances formed with a handshake and a smile. Outside, the stars continued their eternal dance. The galaxy was still vast and dangerous. There would be new challenges, new threats, new struggles. But humanity was no longer alone. They had proven themselves. They had saved the galaxy not through hatred or revenge, but through courage, sacrifice, and an unbreakable will to protect those who could not protect themselves. The Galactic Council had rejected humanity, and humanity had responded by saving them all. Some stories end with victory. This one ended with something better. It ended with hope.